The Osceola Township Board meeting to order. Ms. Wool, roll call please.
Here.
Mr. Champy.
I'm here.
Mr. Wareham.
Nice.
How close?
Here.
Here.
5 members are present. We have a quorum. First item on our proposed agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. Those that can stand, please do so. If you are not able, please feel free to remain seated. Flag is here. Join us in the Pledge of Allegiance if you would please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. First item on our agenda is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I'll make the motion.
Ms. Gardner moves. Is there support?
Support.
Mr. Janke, we have a motion
What are
and
you doing?
support
Not
to
taking
approve
pictures.
the agenda as presented.
Videoing.
Are there
Not
any
me.
suggested
No, you're
additions,
not.
deletions, or corrections to the agenda?
Yes,
Mr. Wareham?
table business. Our last meeting minutes, we tabled talking about Debbie's ditch.
Debbie's ditch.
We tabled that. And we didn't really table it, but we also talked about the pothole in TC,
Make
so
it.
we probably need an update on what happened there. It was all in that same little conversation.
I'm going to add, under tabled business, Deb's ditch
And a pothole.
and the pothole, and bring up the pothole when we get to that, if you would.
Or under the same, are we doing D and E?
They can be the same, they were the same
They did.
minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just, they were both brought up same time.
Anything else? We now have an amended item on our agenda. I trust that meets with approval of, moved and supported approval of the agenda.
Nope.
And all in favor of the motion to approve the agenda as amended, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. We have an agenda. Next item on our agenda is approval of the April 13th, 2022 meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
I'll make motion.
Ms. Gardner, is there support for the motion to approve the minutes as presented?
Support.
School supports. We have a motion and support to approve the minutes from our April 13th, 2022 meeting. Are there any suggested changes, additions, deletions at all to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to approve the minutes as presented, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed, same sign, motion carries. We have minutes.
I'm right on top.
We all set?
Yeah.
Thank you. Next item on our agenda are financial reports. In your packet, you have financial reports, Township General Fund, Road Fund, Mason Wastewater Fund, Tamarack City Water, and Osceola Township Water. Most everyone has had a chance to look at them. We have a motion to accept the financial reports as presented or developed. Anyone?
Motion.
Ms. Wool moves that we accept the reports as developed. Is there a second to the motion?
Less than a second.
Did we do the, oh.
Do we have a second?
Yes.
Any discussion or questions on the financial reports? General Township, Road Fund, Mason Wastewater, Tamarack City Water, or Osceola Township Water? Questions, comments, concerns?
So the $30,000 bill, is that a bill? Check detail. That must be, is that our first payment to, yeah, Mason Wastewater? That must have been our first payment to, for the RD stuff, is that what that is?
No, that's,
Wait, check detail.
it's a, state revenue sharing. We have to write, all the money that the state sends us, whether it's state revenue sharing, if DHS makes a water payment for somebody, anything like that, it all goes into that account.
Oh,
We
okay,
can only set it up that way.
Okay, so it
we
was
write
in and
checks-
out.
Yep,
okay, alright. So there was a deposit somewhere, oh yeah, okay, so there's a deposit right here. Okay, alright.
Yep.
Got it.
Other questions, comments, concerns? A motion to accept financial reports as presented. All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Item 7, approval of payment of bills. Bill folders that include general fund, road fund, Mason fund, Tamarack City Water, and Osceola Township Water. We have a recommendation from the water boards to accept the bills as presented. Is there a motion to approve the bills that were paid? General fund, road fund, Mason fund, Tamarack City Water Fund, and Osceola Township.
Move.
Second,
Mr. Wareham moves, Mr. Janke supports. Approval of payment of the bills. Any questions, comments, concerns on the bills? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to approve the payment of bills, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Bless you.
Bless you. Motion carries. Thank you. We've reached the first of 2 public comment sessions for the tonight's board meeting. If you would like to address the township board with an issue, item, or concern, please feel free to do so. You would have up to 3 minutes. At this time, we would ask only that you identify yourself. Your time will begin when you begin speaking. Anybody here that would like to offer comment or input for the board's consideration?
Horace Schmidt, I wanna thank Tracy for the work that she's done in the, as the town clerk, there we go. And I really appreciate working with her, especially when we were doing all the polling work, or I was doing polling work, so I really, I'm glad to have had an opportunity to meet her, and hopefully we can find someone who's just as good as she, or maybe even better, who knows?
Thank you.
oh,
Thank you, Horst. Anyone else?
I don't think so.
Any additional comments at this time? Hearing none, please note the time that we close the first of 2 public comment sessions. There will be a second opportunity before we adjourn the meeting at the end of our business agenda. So please keep that in mind. Reports. Did we ever get a report from our assessor?
No.
Just to bring the board up to date, we have had a discussion with her relative to the working agreement. We've made some modifications based on input from our attorney. We have offered ideas for her consideration. She has offered ideas for our consideration. We've incorporated them into a new working draft. The draft, I believe, please correct me if I'm wrong, Krista, has been sent to Laura for her feedback.
Has been sent and feedback received, she said. She agreed that it was good, what we discussed, so.
Okay, thank you. We are going to be, we have forwarded a copy to our attorney, but he is on vacation until next week. We'll be talking to him next week. This will be an item that hopefully he will sign off on. Much of the input came from him. We do have a couple of questions that are in a gray area, but I think the new proposed draft addresses at least many of the items where there was at least a question raised in a successful manner. And hopefully we'll have feedback from Pat very quickly next week, and then be able to move forward with execution of the agreement. Is there a copy? Did we put a copy in the packet? I don't recall.
I don't know.
We have looked at the past one. Is anybody here interested in seeing the working draft at this time?
my only question would be, did we resolve the
Employment question?
yeah, I don't know how to,
Yeah,
I don't wanna attack that.
Right.
No, not,
Did
I
she
think
agree
we-
to a couple hours or something, or?
we took it on and we have made adjustments to the contract around employment and who pays for what. And there is a document that was given to us by our assessor, if I recall correctly, during the meeting about the need for employment status.
Well, she had given us what her statutory duties are,
And it didn't
but it
indicate she
didn't
had to be our
indicate,
employee.
correct,
But it
correct.
was a dated document, was it not? Is that the one?
That I didn't see. No, the one, the dated one was the AG opinion from
51 or
1950,
57 or
whatever it
something.
was, yeah.
So we're bringing all this to Pat's attention, but we think the updated draft is an improvement, meets with her approval. But she did offer during the conversation, again, correct me if my recollection is wrong, that if becoming our employee for that,
For the one, or your
the
certification.
certification of the role, if it ultimately is needed, she did not object to that idea. So,
Like if we pay her like 1 hour and you certify it or something like that.
yeah, that's, so
Put it on
there
the,
is, I
put it on
think,
the books,
yeah.
give her a check for 1 hour or something, I mean.
You make an
seems
excellent
fa-
point.
Seems fair, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I thought that we were headed in that direction.
We may have to, if Pat says, yeah, do that, then we'll go back and revisit, but, this is.
Seems like the easiest way
One
to get
thing-
to where we need to go.
One thing we did change, we put, something in there about they're responsible for the,
The withholds.
withholding and
taxing,
taxes or
Tax
whatever,
withholds and.
just to like cross that, cover that, cause that was something Pat was concerned about too.
Okay,
It may be sufficient what we come up with, but if he still says, no, you really should address this, then just what you're suggesting, Aaron, will pursue.
Alright.
She's not objecting to that. I'm trying to keep it clean and to the point. I think we've improved it, but there, may be some feedback from our attorney. I'll alter it one more time.
Just a comment, we talked about it before, but it's in her contract to give us a monthly report. You know, she
Yeah.
just keeps ignoring it.
Actually, when she met with us, she did talk about her
Yeah.
report. I'm surprised we didn't get it, so, yeah. We'll, revisit and amplify that point.
please.
Maintenance report, there is a material in your packet. Osceola Township Water Board action item. We do have a recommendation coming up from the Water Board to approve the amended budget for the Water Board. What's the board's pleasure on that action item?
I'll make a motion to approve the amended budget.
Is there support for Ms. Gardner's motion to approve the amended budget for the Osceola Township water system?
Support.
Support from Mr. Janke. Any discussion on the motion? Are we expending money with an amended budget? Or just approving a redistribution of our revenue?
Just a budget, right?
Yeah, just a
Yeah.
budget, we have spending, we do not then need a roll call vote on it. All in favor of the motion to approve the recommendation from the water board to endorse, accept the amended budget, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Now have an amended budget for the Osceola Township portion of the water system. Dollar Bay Fire Department, there is a report in the packet. Dollar Bay First Responders, a report in the packet.
Did Brad mention anything about spring cleanup?
Yeah, it's in there, we
Yeah.
should probably definitely
I was
just
gonna say, okay,
make
make
sure
sure.
it's in the minutes here, that
Yeah.
is the, is it 23rd, 24th, 25th?
Yep, that's what I'm just looking to make sure.
Yeah.
Just to make sure we know.
We already have it on the website and on
Okay.
signs
Okay.
in town and
Just
whatever.
so you mentioned, okay.
There are notices up too,
Mhm.
and we have had responses from the north end, and perhaps this is a time to ask the question. When we talk about north end, relative to the Dollar Bay Fire Department heading up north, what are we including in the north end? Is it all of precinct 4?
Typically,
Okay.
I mean, it's the community proper up there. So I mean, we're not
Tamarack
gonna,
location?
we're not like heading out down, yeah, we probably, you're right, we need to be more clear about that, I think.
The reason I'm bringing it up is we've had a number of inquiries, and last year, Scott Reed and I
I mean, if you
went
got a
up-
20-acre farm out there, and you got a bunch of brush that came down, we're not expecting like a huge pile of brush up
Yeah.
20, you know, we're talking platted lots here, I think.
Okay, then I think that's what we can do, but our intent on Monday is to bring signage up to Campione's, the Holiday Gas Station et al., so people know we'll be up there on the 25th
Yep.
during the day. I have received some input from the north end, got a very specific call today, and the caller was indeed delighted that the fire department is coming up. I shared the information that I had about date and location, and told her signs would go out, and she was quite pleased and asked me to pass on, thank you to the fire department for coming all the way up and for the notice getting out to them in a timely fashion, so.
Probably our one lady, she's coming up there, little bundles and she's so cute. Unbelievable the work she goes through.
She's very
It's gotta be her.
complimentary and excited, so
Yeah, it's gotta be
we'll
her.
take care of that on Monday, you and I.
Yeah, so like Millionaire Street, Store Street,
And then up to
Tamarack
Tamarack location,
location.
yeah,
okay.
okay. We'll get one out, the
Perfect.
blankets, to let people know in the fourth precinct that you'll be coming up on Wednesday, the 25th.
Yeah,
That evening,
Awesome.
yep.
thank you.
West Tamarack, you can do that.
Wait, what?
So my campus got a bunch of brush, I mean,
That's what I'm saying.
Wait a sec, yeah, you're,
Drop a bunch of trees and.
I think you're technically in the fourth precinct, are you not, Mr. Worm? Be alert to that, across M203 and down a dirt road, but if he's dropping trees and has an expectation,
Might be disappointed.
don't block your road, Don, I guess. So, thank you for all that information and clarification. Tamarack City Utility Board information is in the packet, and there is also a recommendation coming up from the Tamarack City Water Board to approve the budget amendment as well.
You skipped the Tamarack Fire Department.
I'm gonna back up to that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I jumped ahead of water because Steve's here and I think we're gonna talk about pickup and whatever. Reports there, I know that, but I jumped ahead, because I misread it, but,
Okay.
so I'm stuck on where I.
Do you want, do you want us to approve it?
Yeah, I'm asking at this moment, then we'll back up to the fire
Okay.
department and,
I'll
is
make
there-
a motion to approve the, amended budget.
Thank you. Is there support for Krista's motion to amend the budget for Tamarack City Water?
Second it.
By Mr. Wareham's support, is there any discussion on the motion relative to the amended budget? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have an amended budget.
Before you go off of that, was there discussion there about, the sewer admin fee
Yes,
that was and what,
Charlie brought that up to us.
right, so what,
We decided to forget about those few months,
okay,
because it's not worth the whole effort for what do we?
I think the recommendation is to waive the fee for the 2 or 3 month period.
where it was,
Yeah,
okay,
It was just gonna be
Inadvertently
too
not
much
on
work
bill.
for whatever numbers of cents it was.
yeah, okay,
thanks, Don.
So that, we got it raised, but we're missing, like,
There was a screw up in the software, it was in there like 3 times, and of course I deleted the 2 that were correct and one that was at .0038, so it didn't charge it, and I didn't catch it, Charlie asked me about it, and then I was like.
so a bill went out and we didn't collect.
3 bills went out, 3
Oh,
months.
so we didn't get any money from the sewer.
Not that 38-cent fee for 3 months, but it came out to like, I added it up. It would have been about $171 for those 3 months.
We are raising their rate though, in general, are we not?
That's
Yep.
what it's, did you get these in the new budget? The new rates that we proposed? Are those in the new budget?
That will, with the approval tonight of that budget, now it goes forward. Now, we need to pick a
Okay.
date.
Did I change those, did we change those
That's
numbers?
what I'm
Or
asking.
no?
I seconded that motion, but I'm hoping these are in
Is
it.
it going to like 75 cents or
No, it's
buck
more
25?
$1.25.
$1 and a quarter?
Yeah.
Okay.
But-
And then, water service fees going to 37 instead of 36.
Okay.
But
But the 38 cents is actually in their, what do they send us? And they sign it, and they approve all the fees, the words, I have no English words right now, but, it's in that, so
in
can
their
we?
operating procedures, in their,
Correct.
in
If
their
they-
fee structure?
Yes, they
Okay,
have
then
it
we have to
listed,
notify them of the proposed increase that we're authorizing.
that's what I'm,
Do- And my suggestion is that we set an effective date for fees and what have you, that I've now approved with amended budgets.
Mhm.
So if we wanted, there's motions to approve, the budget's now been approved, do we wanna set an active date for that, like
I mean,
June
can it be
1st?
the next can it be set active as of the next bill,
We could make it effective the beginning of this month
to be on the next bill?
to be on the next bill,
That's the way I
and then
think it should be.
notify the sewer authority accordingly. Or, is there a motion to then, go ahead,
I'm just they don't have to change it in their thing first
well,
before,
then, we're notifying them of a recommendation we're making to them. We've
Yeah.
approved a higher fee
yeah,
to address our costs.
I
okay.
mean, we set the bill, don't we, or did they,
I have no
That's
clue
what
how
we'll-
it started. All I know is that in
I
there,
mean, we're doing their
it's not a
bill.
policy, it's not an ordinance.
We said it.
Why can I not come up with the word?
Okay,
Okay, okay, good, that's all I just wanted to
Do
make
we
sure.
wanna
We said it,
go ahead.
and then they put it in their budget to recover it, that's all they did.
Right, okay,
So what they do is, we set the fee, we get it from them, and they turn around and bill the people for it.
yeah,
So
okay,
it's in the budget to different.
gotcha.
Do you wanna
Okay.
set June first as the start date for these, so we can notify them of the change?
I don't see why not.
Do I have, would you make that in the form of a motion, Mr. Worm, to start the new fee structure and admin cost effective with the, June billing that would come out under
You
July?
just said.
Second,
I can't make a motion. Mr. Wareham made a motion
I said what
to,
you just said.
oh,
you
thank
said
you.
what you said. I said second.
So we have a motion and support for an effective start date of the proposed rate hikes for the Osceola Tamarack City water system of June first.
For the fees,
For the
So the
fee,
May usage, June bill,
It's 2 fees.
2 fees.
or
start
June
collecting
usage,
June
July
usage,
bill.
July bill.
Okay.
Administration.
And the administrative fee will go up from $36 to $37.
Right.
So that will go out in the June bill, forwarded in July.
Hold on. 36 to 37, and then
38 cents to
$1.25.
37 is the water, not the administration fee like Bart said.
Yeah, I,
Water, yeah.
$1.25, okay, but we have to let the
We have to let
sewage,
them know of our decision.
okay, sorry. Just make sure I captured that,
Well
okay.
said.
Yeah.
Vote.
Again, my question is that in the new budget? Are those numbers already in there?
I don't,
No, that,
no, I don't
they
think
haven't
we
approved
changed
yet.
that one.
Oh, okay.
there'll be, as soon as we approve all of this, which we've done now, we got an amendment, now we can insert the
Okay.
figures.
Okay.
Did we vote?
Sure.
No,
We didn't vote yet, no.
We didn't vote yet.
We just discussed.
We
I'm
just
voting
discussed.
now.
All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
I,
Opposed, same sign, thank you. Set the start date.
what were you showing me?
Fire department, backing up, Tamarack City Fire Department, there's a report in the packet. Mr. Klein, anything else to offer?
Nope.
Cleanup in Tamarack City is scheduled for Saturday, the 21st,
Yeah,
beginning at what time?
9 AM.
Saturday, the
Saturday,
21st.
the 21st. And their notice is fairly extensive as to where they're going.
Okay.
Anything you'd like to add, sir?
Nope.
Thank you. Torch Lake Sewage Authority information is in your packet. Supervisors report. Watch the clock, I will try to address these sort of like somewhat expanded bullets, so it's not to keep us here till midnight. We had 2 meetings in the last month with John Sema about roads. We covered everything from ditch and overflow problems to built up roadways to resurfacing. We talked about snowmobile trails in Tamarack City and where right-of-ways begin and end, and dust control. 2 things of particular interest, we've talked about the Onico Road. Franklin Township is interested in resurfacing their part, there's information that's on your packet tonight coming from
Okay.
John Sema as to the cost of doing Onico Road from US 41 to Old County Road. The cost is in the neighborhood of $260,000. Our share is in the neighborhood of about 183 and change.
Which I will debate our share when we're done with it.
We don't have $183,000 available in precinct 1 funding, even if we combine based on the per capita distribution of
This is for the Onico road job?
Onico proposed.
100 and,
That's the total,
oh,
but
what's our
most of that total.
No, that's our
share's
share.
183.
That's our share.
183 is
Oh,
our
that's-
share.
180.
260 is what.
260 is the total, our share is 183 and change. And even with,
We're paying for 2/3 of the road that is 90% their problem, but that's okay, we'll get that,
Well,
we'll cross that bridge.
in the,
How much do we have?
well, that's what we're, in the precinct one fund, something just north of
64.
65,000.
64 and
If we
something
were
like that.
to use all of our COVID relief money tentatively identified, it's in the 53,000 range, we're nowhere near. And even if we got a match on some, most, or all of it, we would barely have enough to do the project if the money was matched that we made available by the county relative to its use of the COVID relief money. I don't know that we're gonna be able to address Nico Road this year, given our financial situation.
I think the only thing we could do is, our part's easily repavable.
We can ask them to estimate a skim coat
Just on our part.
on our part. I'm more than happy to do it, I gotta follow up with John.
I still wanna know where the line is, but.
Yeah, we're not exactly sure where the boundary is. I suspect that the numbers that came from the road commission were at least a rough estimate based on where the line is, but there's no map attached. Just a cost figure and a breakout, and that's the best he could do for me at this moment. Franklin Township is going forward with road repair. Oneiko is a priority for them, but my understanding is that they're looking at a rather significant amount from a bond for road repair in Franklin Township. And that would provide them with significantly more resource than we currently have available to pick up our costs relative to that road. Plus, we've got dust control, and there's,
What do we usually spend on that in your precinct
well, that's,
annually?
I anticipated that, if you'll indulge me for just a moment. In your packet, there's something from the road commission about dust control costs. And I looked at what we paid last year. Let me see if I can find it, yeah. Government intermittent per gallon was $1.80 last year, it's up to $2.25 this year. There's been a very significant increase in cost of the calcium chloride that they use. Even if we did a whole stretch, it was $1.65 for continuous, and now it's $2.05. So there's a very substantial increase in the cost of materials to do dust control. If we did just what we did last year, the bill would jump to over $6,000.
Okay.
I think it's money pretty well spent, we get a lot of satisfaction. The one drawback is when we do, what is it, Okarainen Road, we're actually paving part of, I think it's Franklin Township. I may have a conversation with Mary Sears to make dusting part of their bonded revenue as well. For the last couple of years, we paid for 24-foot of road for houses on, I think it's Okarainen, out of Boston there, so. But, that, I do have that identified on my report as an action item, the dusting only at this moment. We need to bring back to Mr. Seema the idea of just resurfacing our portion of the road, and getting a cost for that rather than rebuilding the road.
We gotta find out where the boundary is first, but I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure our whole section is repavable.
I'll ask.
Franklin's Township is not.
Certainly a good portion of theirs, if, maybe a little, or all of theirs with a little bit onto ours, but we'll see. Let me ask them.
I mean, are that number sound, are they doing full reconstruct then, or what are they?
That's my assumption, based on the numbers.
And most of the reconstruct is theirs. But we're gonna end up helping to pay
Are
for
they
it.
going from what, the highway to
Highway to,
We're
past the,
County.
well, roughly
To our boundary.
$77,000 worth from the highway in for work they're identifying as township line. Don thinks that that may not be an accurate, am I quoting you or
I don't-
paraphrasing? We don't exactly know where the line is.
I mean, they're giving us like 2/3 of that road, by looking at the number.
Yeah, all the way down to Old
From
County
the
Road.
highway to Okarainen Road.
Uh,
At
to
the
Old
most,
County
we
Road.
might have half, but there's no way in hell we got 2/3 of that distance, I don't think. I'd have to, like, I gotta see where the boundary is.
Yeah, that, I'll ask about boundaries and I'll get a quote on resurfacing our share only.
I mean, we have maps. We can at a pretty,
Yeah, we have to get a better
I
estimate.
can look on an aerial too, that stuff's on aerials too.
I'll bring it back to John. I'll be talking to him tomorrow and meeting with him again next week. Back if I made a dust control, I'll consider further discussion on Oneco Road then, when we get additional information. What's the board's pleasure relative to dust control on the back roads?
We were talking 6,000 for that one
A little
precinct.
over, yeah, doing in essence what we did last year. Almost all of the roads in precinct one.
No, we've gotta have some kind of dust control. I don't know what we do.
None in precinct 4?
There might be one or two. We drove through precinct 4. I got a tentative meeting set up, but I need to talk with the secretary. She's at a training this week. And there are people out of the office. When I met with John a couple of days ago, actually yesterday morning to be more precise, for the second meeting, he was the only one in the office.
Don't they have that county
Yeah, they got something going on where people are off.
road commission association thing going on or
He
something?
said, I'm holding the fort. I said, where is everybody? He said, gone. He said, I'm the only one here.
It doesn't last very long, but I mean, you gotta do something to those people if they didn't pay taxes.
And we're paying for only 100 feet of it.
I mean, I'm fine with it.
Is there a motion then to approve dust control where we did it last year?
I'll make
Adding
the motion.
Mr. Tom Collins' property.
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Wareham,
Second.
moved, supported by Mr. Jenke, to do dust control that we did last year with the road commission as the provider of service, adding Mr. Tom Collins' property. He will pay for any additions beyond the 100 feet we normally pay for. Any questions, comments, concerns on the motion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Ms. Wolf, please.
Scrivener,
Yes.
Shaky,
Yes.
Wareham,
Yes.
Hopewell,
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Hope County Rec Authority, we met over the phone. Primary topic of discussion was the non-motorized trail and the motorized trails. Got an update from the DNR. The agenda, I think, is in your packet. The big item for discussion, however, were the changes that had to be made to the Articles of Incorporation. We voted on these some time ago. We joined the Rec Authority last year, but due to some technical glitches and some problems with language, they had to rework the Articles of Incorporation and make some subtle adjustments to them. That information is in your packet. The other, I think the most telling thing in all of that is they've added to the executive board directors of Whooper, Tourism Council, I think, to that executive board. It's municipalities primarily that make up the authority or identify as authority originators. We voted in favor of this once before. I think their work will be beneficial to us as it pertains to not just our trail system, but not directly, certainly indirectly, to our recreation plan going forward as well. I trust everyone has had a chance to at least get a peek at it. I would ask for a motion to approve the updated version of the Articles of Incorporation for the Hope County Rec Authority.
I'll make that
Osceola
motion.
Township. Ms. Gardner moves. Is there support?
Support.
Mr. Jenke supports. Is there any additional discussion or offers perhaps of changes to the articles at this time? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to approve the updated version of the Articles of Incorporation for the Holton County Rec Authority or Recreation Authority, please indicate by saying aye.
Alright.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. I'll let them know. Semco update. I've had 2 conversations and 1 exchange of messages with Gabe Seeland, who attended our last meeting. Krista has finished her work relative to identifying township property that might be available. We've had some individual discussions that I think have been very beneficial in reframing this. I am taking the proposed easement agreement that they offered to our attorney for review. There's some telling points. It's not time specific, which was a significant issue. A discussion with Mr. Seelan last month about how long this would last. Location is certainly a serious issue. Look for alternatives. And cost. If I recall correctly, I don't have it in front of me, but I think the offer was $1 or less or something like that. I'm going, can't quite wrap my arms around that one. But the conversations have been amicable, a willingness to meet. I have a call into him to meet next week. He said it was good for his schedule, but I don't expect to hear back from him about date and time until either tomorrow or Friday. Certainly will, whatever we've talked about, both internally and in our individual feedback conversations, try to incorporate into conversations with him. Seems receptive. We know they got to do something here. We want to be a proactive part of the process, but we want to have a very definitive say in where it goes, how long it would last, how big it would be, et cetera. So, if it's any consolation, I did find a smaller one in one of the communities. I think Lake Linden has something that is very tiny by comparison and right next to a house. But the one up on Airport Road is considerable and rather large.
There's one there, but there's two up on Airport Road, isn't there? Not, there's one at the top of the hill,
Yeah.
and then there's one.
I guess see the bigger one, and that would be very ugly right there.
Yeah. But we'll get
Yes.
a better
That
description
one,
of
the big one
dimensions.
stinks.
So, but I will hopefully have a report back at our June meeting, and if we make progress, certainly I'll get the word out individually as well for your consideration and feedback. But wanted to let you know that we're continuing to dialogue with Semco. Vet banners, they have been ordered for Tamarack City and for Dollar Bay, and there are a number of them coming in, ideally this week, if not this week, next week. So with Mr. Klein here from Tamarack City, Steve, there are up to 6 or 7 that have already been ordered for Tamarack City.
Yeah, I talked to Kathy yesterday.
Okay, well, you're ahead of me then, yeah, thank you. You're alert to that, and Dollar Bay had, through my last conversation, just one
I have no
so
idea.
far, but others have shown interest. If you'll indulge me for just a moment on a personal side, I've been searching for a month for a picture that I think is suitable, and I found it. So, my hope is to purchase a banner for placement in Tamarack City. If not in the first cycle, certainly in the second cycle, of banners going up. In addition, I had a conversation unrelated to banners with Judy Odgers about the honor roll. She brought me up to speed on discussions she's been having, most notably with the VFW post, but did indicate that the post may be closing in Dollar Bay.
Probably shortly.
So the VFW post may no longer be operational here in Dollar Bay. She is interested in forming a group, wanting to know of township interest and the like to upgrade, improve the honor roll. That is something that, if I recall correctly, I brought up during a discussion with Gabe Seeland last fall when we were out behind the ball field looking at the right-of-way or possible easement off of Cedar Street. And he made some comment about contributions to communities and the like, and we had a short discussion about the honor roll. I don't intend to pursue that with him during our next meeting, when we're focused on the immediate needs they have and our concerns raised at the last meeting. But there's a need for revenue, a desire to upgrade. The Veterans Office did indicate that there is some money available for honor rolls, and one would have to apply for it, but I don't know if that is our honor roll formally, or if it is in the charge of the VFW or what have you, but there's interest in repairing it. Judy has expressed on a couple of occasions interest in heading up a group that might take that issue on. I want to keep the board in the loop that casual discussions have taken place, and I did bring it up at a recent meeting up at the Veterans Office at the airport. So vet banners are on their way, and there is interest in enhancing and upgrading the honor roll. The ball field has become a very popular place in the last 24 to 72 hours. The Lake Linden team has played a doubleheader with Ontonagon on it. They have, it's in your packet, a schedule that shows some limited use, 2 more dates for games. We have also given permission for a newly formed team out of Calumet, Torch Lake, Schoolcraft, and Osceola Township residents to practice on the field. In fact, they're there as we speak. These are 13 to 16-year-old boys who are playing a junior league or what have you. Apparently there are 6 teams in it. The word's gotten out that our field is playable and available, and we've received 4 or 5 requests for use of the field for practice, use of the field conceivably for games. We've asked people to submit stuff in writing. I printed copies of those requests here. I didn't want to go too far down those paths without the board's endorsement of pursuing this and making our field available to other entities to practice and conceivably play games on. In a conversation with Scott Reed, he says that we don't have equipment up there for field maintenance. We don't have a storage shed as yet. Work that has been done there has been done by Scott and by Jens Sutherland, the Lake Linden baseball coach, who's dragged, put dirt in, filled holes, et cetera, and is willing to keep doing that. I mentioned that to the coach of the 13 to 16-year-old team that used the field last night, that please let us know about repairs. I've been talking to people that are walking their dogs about our continued interest in a dog park out by Gooseneck, but it's probably, in a developmental stage at best this spring and summer, that if they continue to use the field, that police up after themselves. They promised to do so. Nobody has reported any messes anywhere except Scott, who indicated that at the end of the winter season, there was a bag full of bags of dog poop that he disposed of, but said, I wish they wouldn't do that, to that effect. But I think he informed them as well to kindly take it with you, or put it in a trash can where we can get rid of it quickly, but please don't just let it fester there next to the dugout. So, I've talked to a few dog owners who have used the field, explaining that it's being used primarily for baseball. But I'm seeking guidance and input as to how to proceed, because we're getting calls from girls softball teams, little league teams, minor league teams, and a couple of teams in this new 13 to 16-year-old age group about using it minimally for practice. And I think in the case of the girls softball team, they're even identifying possible use of it for games. And it's a multi-purpose field in that regard, but it's really set up for baseball versus softball, with the backstops and everything. And I just wondered how you would like me to proceed with this.
That's good. It's because I don't see anybody in here that's gonna have time to set up a schedule. I don't know how many people you'll need in there.
Well, actually, Krista has actually been setting up a practice and use schedule based on the first 2 games. But Lake Linden was real easy. We got their schedule in writing.
This is right here, yeah.
Yeah, and the 13 to 16-year-old team only asked to use it through this Saturday at this moment, thinking they would be practicing and playing on other fields. They may come back in with another request, I'm led to believe. Deflecting here, Don's son-in-law has informed me that they may need it going forward, and for those of you that do not know, that's my oldest. The use of the field beyond that, but they don't anticipate playing games there. But that field can get chewed up pretty quickly if there's a lot of use. I'm asking questions like, what are you willing to do? Where are your team members from? When are your other fields going to be available? But right now, there's, I think, only a plurality of available fields.
There's only 4 hardball fields available in the whole area, and ours is one of them.
Yeah.
So,
Do we charge anything for it yet, or we're not?
Yeah, no. Except in case of Lake Linden, maintains the field.
In kind.
That's what I mean, and otherwise we
Huge
use it for nothing if
impact.
we're doing this maintaining it.
I guess,
Right.
Go ahead,
I mean,
Mr. Jenkins.
if we have a high school team playing on it, and he's trying to keep it and maintain it in playable condition. I mean, I almost feel like, you know, he gets priority for everything, cause he's the one putting all,
Oh, I would say
majority of the work, so
I agree.
he should, if he wants it, it's his, as far as I'm concerned at this point, anybody else comes second. But, I think it needs to be made at I'm fine with people using it, but I think it needs to be made apparent that, that they need to leave it, and they can't just come in and practice and not rake or not do anything, you know, they can't leave big holes by first base and second base and just walk away from it after they've had, you know, sliding practice or whatever there might be, you know, I mean, we need to make sure that when Lake Linden comes to play a game on that thing, that he doesn't have to do 4 hours of maintenance when he shows up thinking that it was in good shape when he left.
Point well made. Some have mentioned that on the phone during conversations, another put it into an email that their intent would be to leave it better than they found it.
We can get
As
this-
long as they
we can
take care of it, but I mean, if the Lake Linden coach comes back and starts complaining, then I think we have to nix it. I think that's my thought, until Lake Linden's done.
So be
Which that
understanding,
goes all the way
flexible, but
to-
make sure they understand.
I mean, their season technically goes till,
25th of May, well, they're at.
and then there's playoffs, but they'll probably be practicing.
Yeah, he's looking for a couple of practice days. I don't think he'll be on the field more than 5 or 6 times between now and the end of the month. for a game. So,
Anyways,
Yeah.
that's my,
well, we
I
can work with
really
that.
approve of the, you know, like, that a team, like a high school team using it, that's what it's there for. So,
Well, we'll try to be as flexible and understanding as we can, but we'll put some guidelines down out there. I'm a little hesitant, cause I do have an item under new business that I need to add, and that is a request from our, to provide an opportunity for last year's summer, assistant to our maintenance staff, opportunity to come back and work. And in a brief conversation with Scott, we've already lined up about 5 or 6 different things that will take
it sounds like
advantage of
there's
these.
board painting out there, I just saw on the thing, and, yeah, sounds like good stuff.
In fact, the enhanced skill set of Mr. Janke would afford him an opportunity to put the dugout concrete in his schedule, put pads on, but I'll amplify that in a few moments.
Sure.
We'll get to that. But let me quickly run through, Board of Review position, Mr. Ringler has resigned from Board of Review. He's leaving the township, he's bought a home in Lorium, and will be leaving us. We do have 2 alternates, one who's gone through all the trainings and is currently certified, that would be Mr. Bencato. Our next Board of Review meeting is in July, but I can approach the alternates to see if either or both are interested in the permanent position, and then we could post a second alternate if that's the board's pleasure. We do have a trained alternate, currently certified, available in Mr. Bencato.
I would say that he gets first dibs at it.
So when I get to-
That's what I was thinking, but just wanna alert the board.
And it sounds like no matter what, we're gonna have to post something.
Mm-hmm.
Was Venkito on it before?
No, but he has, he's an alternate now.
Okay.
He's gone through all the training, went through the prescribed training this, past year, I believe in February.
Do
with me.
We got time though, hey, cause it's
We
not
do,
till
I
July.
think, yeah, I think
So
we.
you have time to approach these guys, and if they're not interested in being any more than an alternate, then
Exactly.
we'll still have time to post it.
We could post it after our June
And
meeting.
they can serve as an alternate even in the July meeting if they had to.
Exactly, yeah. And we still have a quorum with Mr. Westfall and Mr. Brown,
Yeah, okay,
regular members.
okay.
Spring cleanup, we've already talked about. M203 Tamarack Waterworks Road street light, I brought it up at the last meeting, there was favorable response to the idea. I've talked with Tim Gasperch a couple of times in the last week. Their board has approved going forward with the light. Wanted to know if we'd be willing to join them. They're also putting a second light down on the Calumet Waterworks Road past the post office. He thought for a fleeting moment that actually might be in Osceola Township, but the township line ends quite a distance from that junction. We're being asked to consider joining them at this moment in partnership to illuminate that intersection off of M203, entering and exiting the Tamarack Waterworks Road. The pole is technically in in Calumet Township. The residents that would benefit are in Calumet Township, Osceola Township, and Alloway Township out of Keweenaw. The cost is less than $22 a month, so our share would be approximately $11, a little less, $10 and change.
Is that a motion?
If you'd like to make one, Mr. Wareham, I'd be happy to entertain a motion to approve joining Calumet and illuminating the junction
All
corner.
right, make that motion.
Mr. Wareham moves that we support by covering our share, or a share of the costs associated with the light, M203 Tamarack Waterworks.
I'll support.
Support from Ms. Gardner. Further discussion on the motion to approve the light. This isn't expending the township money, so it will require a roll call vote. Any questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, Ms.
Ms. Gardner,
Yes.
Mr. Jenke,
Yep.
Mr. Warren,
Yep.
Mr. Buckle.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you. I'll let Mr. Gasperich know. Footnote, he was certain that of interest from one member of the township board. I did share with him that you were rather enthusiastic at the last meeting when it was brought up. So he guessed it was you. Part-time summer help, I've alluded to it. Mr. Janke has availed himself, he works in Marquette according to the correspondence he forwarded. Geez, did I make that available, or I just leave it in the correspondence file?
You did not.
Shoot, I apologize, I was copying things before and I didn't get to everything. A very nice letter, I will pass it around, along with an attachment to, this document, if you're interested in looking at it, Jaden Workforce last summer. There are projects that Scott Reed, our maintenance person, myself have discussed, should the board approve going forward with this, or a continuance of it. He would be available less time on average because he has a part-time position in Marquette that would occupy Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, according to our phone conversation. But we thought if the board approves continuing with this, the projects could easily be done on a more casual schedule. For example, completing work on the dugouts by putting concrete down. And then Scott and I talked about if we build a utility shed for equipment, tools at all, we could have him put a slab down, and he has construction skills. We might ask him to take a crack at putting the shed together. Further, we talked about, and it's in Mr. Reed's recommendations, that we put a second porta potty at the Tamarack City Park, and that perhaps we put concrete platforms down for both porta potties, one by the basketball court, one in its current location, and then we would add a permanent concrete slab on which to put the porta potties, probably making them more stable and dressing up the appearance a little bit by having them on concrete versus on the ground. So as we began to brainstorm about ideas, we thought we retain him like we did last year from the 1st of June till the end of August.
Do I have a motion?
We could clearly come up with a lot of work for him.
I'll make a
I
motion.
entertain a motion to,
I'll make a motion to rehire Jaden.
and work on the projects so identified.
Yep, or anything else not easy to do.
We have a motion by Mr. Wareham.
Support.
And a support by Ms. Gardner to retain summer help again for our maintenance staff and identify projects for him. Further discussion on the motion.
Do we need to set his hourly rate
We
with,
could certainly do that. I would recommend, if I may,
Did
to
we have
Mr.
a maintenance thing from last year? Oh,
Yeah, we had a
well,
part-time-
everybody, yeah, we didn't do the,
We didn't do part-time during our
Right.
table, but I would recommend adding at least 50 cents to the hourly rate.
What was he at before?
I think 13 or
I
13.50.
think $13.50, but I
$13.50,
can't
we're getting the
imagine he
$14.
would have done less than that.
You can go McDonald's and flip burgers for
Right.
19. I'd say 15.
Mr., are you amending your motion to say?
I didn't make a motion for a wage.
No, I'm asking if you're amending your motion to say higher and the wage would be.
If you would like me to do it that way, sure.
If that's acceptable to the board, so we have
Motion,
a
yeah.
amended motion then to hire the summer help and set the hourly rate at $15. Do you still support that motion?
I do.
We gotta go there, Bob.
I used Aaron a little bit last year also.
Jaden,
Or Jaden, I'm sorry.
Well, I don't think
Yes, you
anything
know,
we're
I wondered if
suggesting
he could do some
precludes
of your
that.
inspections for you, or do you have to do those in person?
Inspections?
You were talking about the inspections that we may have to do for the plumbing. For the plumbing?
That I would have to find out, I'm not sure.
Just
But
ask.
that would be great.
You could just send them out there and you do these 5 and I'll do these 5 or something like that, I don't know. You got 700 to do,
Yep.
so there's quite a few.
Mr. Wareham and Ms. Gardner, may I ask for an additional amendment based on the feedback that we have to perform the work as assigned?
Sorry, Aaron.
yeah,
I didn't help you much. I did help you on one.
Yeah,
It's kind of been my
Well,
original motion.
we have an amended motion that includes.
It's kind of been my original motion, if you look back at the original
Yeah,
motion.
he did say it
I
as
said
As
I'm not-
assigned,
yeah.
Well, as assigned, I stand corrected,
Right.
we don't need to do that, so we have a motion that indicates as assigned and a proposed rate of $15 an hour.
Yes.
That's where we're at, we're
Yep.
good? So that covers any additional discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Gardner.
yes.
Mr. Jenke.
abstain.
Mr. Ware.
Yes.
Osceola.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you very much. Get back to my list, I'm almost through it. I've mentioned my meeting with Mr. Greeley. One last thing I'd like, or second to last thing I'd like to bring to your attention is I've had a very meaningful conversation with Dr. Arnold from the National Park, about the dredge. And it's the second conversation I've had about the dredge in the last 8 days. I thank Mr. Jenke for forwarding emails that came to him and alerting Mr. Arnold to my availability. We had a delightful conversation today about the dredge and what might be done about it. There's interest in certain quarters about forming a group to preserve and upgrade, or if you will, refurbish the dredge, to take advantage of perhaps the historical significance and conceivably in the long term dress up the area and make it part of a non-motorized trail stop, a tourist site to stop at and view, et cetera, very early in the discussion stage, but he was keenly interested and appreciative of where the township was. We do have questions around ownership, who actually owns the dredge. We know we own property in proximity, and that they have to cross our property to get to the dredge. But a recent conversation with, I believe, Mr. West from the Historical Society / Museum, raised the question as to who actually does own it. And I'm gonna be digging through paperwork here, so if anybody has a,
know-
good, Mr. Jenke.
I know that,
That was set a couple of years ago that the county owns it.
that, the previous supervisor, Steve, had gone through a number of this stuff. There has to be a file for this because a lot of this was looked at previous in terms of who the actual owner of that is. There was sales talk and bringing it down to some place in like New Jersey and taking it all apart, putting it back together and blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff, and who actually owns this thing, and so there's a significant file on this
I'll find it.
someplace.
Okay.
That
That's what I
has
needed. I
the
needed
very
something
stuff
to
we're
look
talking
for.
about, which is why when I forwarded it to you, I brought that up, that I don't think we actually own it. We just have the property itself.
That's not all the property, it's like a section of that.
It's just a
property,
section,
remember,
because
right?
some of it's privately owned around the dredge.
I believe I don't know how much we own, you know, if it's just that side of that access road, or if it's all the way to the highway, I'm not
It's
even
in
sure.
that stack of paperwork I just did.
So, yeah, I know that there's a significant file somewhere
I'll try to
on
find
this though.
That's
And it
helpful.
should have what we're looking for in there.
I appreciate that, because I'm not quite sure where to look, but now that you said Steve was working on it, I got an idea
It
where
was
Steve
a
was
lot.
filing things, so I'll go digging.
Came up several meetings.
Yeah.
Several meetings,
Yeah.
several times, multiple years, so there's gotta be a big file on it.
hopefully by our June meeting, I'll have a report for you, a brief one about a gathering and a conversation, but prior to that meeting, I hope to find what you're referencing, so I can read and catch myself up. But,
I don't know, did you talk to the Historical Society over
yeah,
there?
I've talked with them on 3
They
different
didn't know?
occasions. Well, at first, this conversation's back some time ago. They indicated that yes, they believe that they were responsible for the dredge. I didn't quite sure what that meant, but, the
Yeah.
inference was that they took on responsibility for upkeep and maintenance, and then if they didn't do certain things, it would revert back to, and I'm hearing revert back to the township. I'm
Oh,
going, I don't know, did the township ever own it? And if that's the case, well, then I gotta find it, but you've given me someplace to look, so now I've been moving some of, my predecessors' Steve's stuff around. I got an idea where to look now, so, alright, I'll be plunging into files and boxes. But it's at a very early discussion stage right now, and it's getting people that are interested in the dredge, or believe they have a stake, or, responsibility for the dredge together, and that may take place.
I mean, it sounds like a really interesting idea, but, and he works for the Park Service, right? That-
Yes.
So, anyway,
He did mention, after raising the question, that he knew the archivist at Michigan Tech, and I told him that that person may be very helpful for my search for information, but, she's out of town right now.
Yes, she is.
She's out of the
Lucky
country.
her.
Yeah, no kidding. Fill you in after, well, I broached it, they went to Europe for a break.
You're almost
I
done.
wish we could.
by the way.
I am?
Yeah.
My apologies. Last item.
No, you definitely are.
No, get back in that.
we gotta be at 45 minutes here by now.
Well, we had action items. Changes to our rents, rates, fees at all are still being worked on. I mean, I've got a worksheet on the rent, jumping to $50, but, now we're trying to factor in what that includes, and just by way of example, it looks to include heat, water, garbage, snow removal, and we're going, holy smokes.
Yeah, I mean, when we were talking rate raises, I wasn't talking $50 raise.
I know.
We're doubling it.
Then I need input, so forward your
I mean,
ideas.
I think we were taking the small, one downstairs from 350 to 500 at least, were we not?
Well, there was discussion about rates, but we haven't codified anything, so please share your ideas and thoughts, and we'll
All right,
smash everything together and make a decision in June. We, relative to the apartment, we are having it cleaned, there's a new range up there. Scott did a wonderful job painting and refurbishing and restoring, but, I will be back here first thing in the morning to let the work crew from GNL Janitorial get in, get them in and finish up their work. And it'll be ready to go, by Monday of next week. We'll go for it. Thank you, I know I've been a little longer winded than I intended, but then it's sort of,
It's what you do.
thank you. I was trying to find a more charitable word to describe
We
myself.
thought you'd just give Tracy a farewell with that one.
Right.
I've mentioned, going on to unfinished business, then, Semco request update, I shared that during my report. There is a draw request, from UP Engineering and Architecture, on the table. Ms. Gardner, if I could impose upon you to highlight that.
$707.87, 20th.
And that, the number on the draw request is?
20.
20.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
A motion from Ms. Gardner to approve UP Engineering's
I'll
draw
second.
request number 20. We have a support from Ms. Cool. Is there any discussion on the draw request for $700 and?
$7.87.
Thank you. Any discussion?
No.
Hearing none, a
Gardner?
roll call vote
Yes.
please on approval?
Mr. Jenke?
abstain.
Mr. Wareham?
Yes.
Mr. Hopper?
Yes. Apparently we're gonna get some thunderstorms, some weather tonight.
I think it's here.
Yeah.
Here.
I think it's here.
There's another one right
Thank
behind
you.
us.
Approved?
I'll
Is that-
jump back.
Okay, Travis Engineering, did receive an email.
Email.
Travis, we
No.
like,
Mine are open.
did did I share that with everyone? I think I made copies, did I not?
I had it.
Your windows are.
I'll be right back.
We've got our permits have been approved, for part of it. He'll come to our June meeting with an update. So, I believe, those are the highlights really found in the report. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, let's go home.
Aaron?
Is there any problems out there? Just talking about are we gonna have any issues with the low water that we have out there right now, or?
Unrelated to Travis Engineering, but
Well, I mean, it's
relative to
kind of it down by
still-
the park down there, you know?
Yeah, the park's been thoroughly cleaned by the work crew. We do have an issue, however, with the dock for the boat landing. I talked to Don Eber today, the vehicle that they would normally use to move it is not available, not serviceable. The bigger truck doesn't fit within the load limits, it still apply. They tried, they can't get out there, so it may be several days or a week or more before they're able
That's
to get
fine.
it.
That is, yeah.
But there's not much we can do about that.
No.
Back to Travis Engineering, both the sand pit, where the road has been repaired, culvert, and the one down by the boat landing are both covered by the permit.
And that's, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so,
I don't even know why I brought that up, cause I was thinking boat landing and stuff, so.
and he'll be at our June meeting, ideally with, here's what we're doing, here's how we're
Is
going.
he still gonna be able to put something, are we still gonna be able to put something on there to do something separate for parking expansion?
Yeah, I don't know that we're gonna be able to do it with them, but we can certainly look at that as part of our recreational budget going forward.
Yeah.
The idea of putting a
I
parking.
mean, if we're gonna have a
place somewhere.
contractor out there working on stuff, it seems like
Ooh,
the perfect time to,
Yeah, bring it up when he's with us in June, and we'll see if we can
I
dovetail
know he
that
knows
idea.
about it, we talked to him about it.
Yeah, yeah, he hasn't mentioned it to me, and frankly, I haven't mentioned it to him, I just swing by and said, do you have a report?
Yeah, okay.
And then that came in today just before 5 o'clock. I mentioned the work already being done on the apartment, that's just about done. And we'll hopefully be able to address the vacancy next week. Just a reminder about the road millage renewal, it's on the August primary ballot, all that's taken care of, is it not?
Yep.
Okay.
Somebody outside? When you're.
That's all under unfinished business, unless somebody has a question or concern. Under table business, Elm Street restoration plan, still the idea of work in progress, not looking at any action tonight, move it from the table. Tamarack City land split request, there are some questions that have been raised about its appropriateness or legality. And I'll be bringing that back up with Pat. It may not fit the size required by, the size of the lot is
By
too
the state.
small after the split. An issue that's been raised here relative to meeting either county or state requirements. Don't think I'm overstating that. I've mentioned our assessor's contract already. The previous issues, that will be reviewed by Pat. We have Deb's ditch also tabled. If you'll permit me a comment on that, I did hear from Julio's, and they would be able to ditch it from where the water collects to the ditch behind the house near the ball field for $600 or less. So if we choose to go forward with this, we have to take it off the table, but we've got the summer, I think, to address that issue. Look at budgets between now and then.
I mean, in general, we really didn't have a lot of flooding this year, did we?
We had a lot of standing water there for a while, but it was primarily runoff collecting, and that's always a problem here.
I didn't see anything, didn't look like, over by the ball field, it looked like it was, I didn't see anything up to that garage or anything like
Still
it has been in the back.
We still have to address it before next year, because she has problems there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, we do gotta get it done.
Well, I can get a written estimate from Tony if you'd like me to, and have it available for the June meeting.
Okay.
Okay. We'll take that. New business, I'm sorry? Potholes, I'm sorry, Don. Potholes.
The Tamarack.
The one in Tamarack
The
City
one
by
by-
Horse's house, didn't we?
Yeah, that was mentioned in yesterday's meeting with the road commission.
Okay.
I brought it to John's attention and said, we've got water standing in a residence yard, and it ditch there on the left side as you're going up Seventh Street, fills in, he's aware of it. I don't know if they're going to be able to address it or do anything this year. I talked with him about all the ditching issues, all the pothole issues. I've talked with him about, Seventh Street and Spruce, where the gravel road is now paved and raised the roadbed and the road surface up several inches, now water's standing in Mr. Lamran's yard, and he's not sure what they're gonna be in a position to do about that, so, I think if we were willing to spend road fund money to make some of these repairs, they'd be in a position to do it. I did not get the impression that they're going to be putting that on their high priority list, for spring, summer work. That's what I have there. It was not
Is that
exactly
Johnson?
what I was anticipated seeing, but the ditch out by First Place is an issue. The water leak up there was from
Oh, you've been.
the water system, right? In Hubble?
2
Not
hours.
ours,
Not ours, but,
Fishing America.
yeah. That's why the orange barrels were up higher up the road, which we ultimately found out. But that only explains in part some of the water from runoff that was in that backyard and eroding away part of the roadbed in that ditch. If we get a heavy rain and there's backup, let me know right away if you would, please, and I'll give them another quote.
Actually, the snow is almost gone.
Yeah, I think that's the hope they had, is that the weather improving, it's melting, evaporating, and
Yeah.
running off, and,
Yeah, it's not like the last time,
no,
no, so we're in good shape.
okay. Thank you. John, anything else?
Is that yours?
New business, clerk's resignation, the position has been posted. Ms. School will be leaving us, I believe, on the 31st of May,
We don't accept.
with a,
We don't accept that?
what is the board's pleasure relative to accepting her
Go right back to
resignation this
school, yeah.
evening?
Oh, we just determined that.
Yeah, well, we have one comment, but I do believe we need to formally accept her resignation this evening's meeting. Is there a motion to accept the clerk's resignation?
I'm
Can-
not supporting that, so.
Can it be extended again if we accept it,
I
if
don't
we
think-
don't have anybody yet?
Well, that's an interesting question I don't have the answer to. If by way of example, we accept it, but there are no applicants, and the school is receptive, would we be able to extend her? I can ask Mr. Greeley about that, or we can call MTA or both, and see what they say. We could accept it conditionally.
That's what I would do. 'Cause you hate
I
to
mean, is
accept
that
it and all of a
okay
sudden
to
get it
stay
for
on
another
in
month.
June if we don't have anybody in place yet, just cause, so we can get the check signed and whatnot? Yes.
Then
Yeah.
a motion to accept conditionally is dependent on whether or not we have a candidate to fill the position. The school's willingness to extend if need be.
She's still looking for a motion on what to make.
What's the board's pleasure?
For her to stay.
That thunder note out there?
Ladies and gentlemen, do I have a motion to
Go
conditionally
Don,
accept?
just do it, you know,
So hate me forever.
no, I know how everybody feels, we've been through this, so I'm not holding it, you have to do it.
I'll make that motion.
Mr.
Mr. Motion.
Wareham makes a motion to
With regret.
conditionally accept,
With regret, by the way.
with regret, the resignation of the clerk, with the understanding that if the position is not filled, she is willing to extend for 30 additional days.
Support unwillingly.
Support unwillingly from Mr. Jenke. We have an unwilling motion followed by an unwilling second.
Thank you,
To
Aaron,
accept
thank you, Don.
Conditionally, the resignation of the clerk. Further discussion on the motion. Hearing none. All in favor of accepting with regret, apparently, if I'm not overstating
And
it.
unwillingly.
And unwillingly, the resignation of the clerk, please indicate by saying aye. Aye,
Mark made us.
The minutes will reflect that the supervisor strongly suggested that, thank you, I know that this was hard and difficult for all parties involved.
Did you get to vote no?
I just
At least
didn't
one
vote.
person can vote
She
no.
didn't say nothing.
Thank you.
Alright.
Appreciate your willingness to extend. You will be missed.
I'm probably
Pleasure
gonna be here
working
next
with-
year at this time.
Well,
Extending one more
That's
month.
we get a day at a time. so
Yes, yes.
Thank you for
One day at
that
a time.
observation and
Yes.
comment. Right?
Okay.
Moving on, we've already acted on the Houghton County Regulatory Articles of Corporation change. Amended budget, salary resolution, we approved, I believe, the water system amended budgets. There is in your packet the amended budget for the township as well. It incorporates the suggested changes relative to salaries and hourly rates. I would make one suggested addition. Based on a percentage, the raise for the maintenance person would go up by $1.25. I'm suggesting at least $1.50.
I don't think it's in here.
It's not in, the budget's not
I don't
part
think,
of the
not
packet?
the one that not with the dog park line item, I'm not finding it.
Oh, shoot. I thought that was in.
We had both of the water ones, but I'm not finding that one. I thought it was good.
Oh, did I miss that?
Yeah,
I don't
no,
know.
wait.
Nope, that's water. They're both, the last two are water.
Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
My apologies.
See, it's cause I wasn't here to put the packets
Water
together.
fund and Tamarack City Water Fund.
Yeah, it's not here, Mark.
Oh, you know what? I didn't know if you, I didn't copy it. I didn't know if you wanted it put in
Oh.
the packet because of the
I
wonky
apologize.
dog park line item.
Wonky?
Well,
Wonky.
I threw like all the extra money in
Oh,
there
God, that's right, yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot about that, I'm sorry.
because it didn't balance.
Well, without a chance for you to review it, I think the only thing to do would be to table action on that until the June meeting.
Sounds good.
We
Uh,
need to
table.
table the salary resolutions anyway.
Yeah, we'll have to table everything until June, my apologies, I thought we had it in there. Should I wait the dog park thing?
Did we address fire department's request, anyone?
Yeah, not technically, no, but that was part of what I was going to bring up with budgets, or the, issues, the Tamarack, well, let's finish this first. If we're gonna table it, we're tabling the budget for the township, general budget for the township, and the salary resolutions. A motion to table really doesn't have additions to it, so there is a motion to table. Is there support for the motion to table?
I'll second it.
Who motioned?
Aaron moved.
Me.
Don supported. Without further comment, we have a motion to table. All in favor of the motion to table the budget and the budget resolutions, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries with table. Now, we have approved the water system budget
Right.
for both water systems tonight. Include the raises and what have you. Those raises will be and have been incorporated into the township budget. That's tabled. But we did take action on the Tamarack City water system budget.
Right.
And one of the issues in there that was recommended up and needs attention at this moment from the board is a request that came from Mr. Klein, was it 2 meetings ago, Steve, or just one? Relative to, payment for hydrant snow removal?
It was during budget time. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, okay. In January. January, well, longer ago than I thought. I just found the letters again in the back of the packet. What came up at the water board meeting, and please looking at members here, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the recommendation coming up from that was to honor the request and take, in essence, we had zeroed out in the draft and the now approved budget, the fire hydrant amount of 2310 as a revenue stream for the water system, right? Am I paraphrasing that or remembering it correctly? It was in the budget as zero cost, and that would, in the methodology I had envisioned, would be the money that we could use to honor the request that came up from the fire department to raise the snow removal rate from $15 to $50 per hydrant in Tamarack City. There's 46 hydrants, 46 times 50 is it?
Five in Mason.
Yeah, well,
We do
Mason
50
will have to be,
hydrants.
yeah, Mason will have to be dealt with separately because it's separate revenue. But we deal with it. But then the discussion that followed was, can we move the money out of the water system into the fire department budget? Where does that money originally get paid to the water system from? Where does that money come from? The money comes from, is it the fire department fund? To cover the cost for the hydrant rental?
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah,
So
so
where coming from, yeah.
we have to figure out how to do that, so what I'm hopeful that the board will endorse is that we will look at that issue by affirming the principle of raising the rate for snow removal around the hydrants from $15 to $50, and then we will identify the mechanism by which we pay for that out of the appropriate and applicable funding source. Because by taking it out of the water system budget, we deprive that money of the water system. We were taking it from the fire department then to pay the water system for the
Right.
hydrant rental. We say that's no longer an applicable approach. We want the fire department to be able to retain the money to pay, in essence, for.
Well, that's the
Snow
approach you
removal.
still wanna do, you still have to pay the rental fee, cause it covers other things like maintenance of the hydrant, also.
Okay, then we have to.
So the
figure-
water, that rental fee is not just paying for the $15 or whatever, it pays for Bob to go on it, maintain them, exercise them, empty them if they need to be emptied,
Okay.
what have you. So, there's a lot more to that rental fee than
That's-
just,
Okay,
so you can't just say, so if you're gonna use more, that means you have to raise the rental fee, probably.
okay, so we have to figure out a mechanism then to honor the request from the fire department and remove the revenue as a cost center.
Right, I mean, if the rental fee goes up, it just comes off the millage, just like it does, and then it goes back to them, and it pays for their labor, it's a separate thing.
So we could raise.
It's not
the-
going back to it's not going back into the millage, it's gonna go
Oh, no, I wasn't
it's gonna go to
suggesting
them for them to use as they choose. So it's totally different, it takes the earmark off of it, of being for equipment now. It takes that earmark off it, and it gives it back to that
Was I
department, based on the labor that they use, and it no longer, it's like a separate deal, separate
He
money.
went,
Okay.
he went to
We
the
have to
back.
figure out the appropriate way of
After
putting the
I come
revenue
here,
in and
They
or
move
moving,
them to 'em.
identifying the revenue properly to address, honor the request from the fire department to get paid $50 for snow removal per hydrant, while at the same time maintaining the integrity of the earmarks and allocations inside the budgets.
Sure, that's fine, I'm just saying that
Is it-
it just gets paid to the department I'm assuming you pay them in a check, do you not?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, whatever,
Okay.
it doesn't go back into their budget or anything like
No,
that.
it's
Doesn't do-
identifying
doesn't
and
do that
accounting
for
for
us.
it properly though.
We put ours into the building fund or something, do we not?
Yeah.
Yes, it does not go back into our budget.
Okay, so there are mechanisms
Yeah,
available, we just have to
so money
identify.
for,
Is
the money that we do for the spring cleanup, the money we do for the hydrant stuff, that comes back, that just gets paid to the departments and it goes into a separate fund that the departments maintain.
Okay, so there
So
is
it's
a
not- it's no
mechanism or
longer-
a model in place that we could
Yes.
follow to accomplish.
Yes, it's already there.
Okay, now, if I may, Mr. Klein, does that address the issue from your perspective?
I'll be okay, I don't care how it gets there.
Okay, so we have to figure out the proper way to do it then, so. it's
I think
all
the proper
common-
way is there, it's just a matter of, if they're requesting $50 a hydrant, that's what they're requesting, I don't know how you're gonna, either that or if you don't want the fire department to do it anymore, then you need to hire somebody else to do it.
Please.
And I bet you, I bet you'll have a real hard time finding that, so,
Well, then,
It's $50 a hydrant.
if I may
a
interject.
year, I mean, you're getting a guy to go out there and shovel, that's miserable, crappy work that's on a corner and it gets dumped on by the dang county road commission it's terrible, it's terrible.
Yep, no argument for me, living next to one down in
It's terrible.
Tamarack City, that whoever does mine does an excellent job, they dig a path in, they dig it out,
Terrible,
Yeah.
terrible work.
between MDOT and road commission, it
So
gets.
do we need a motion?
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm driving at, we need a motion to address identifying and paying the $50 per hydrant for snow removal in Tamarack City. That's what I think it boils down to. Find the revenue stream. Hang on there for just a second or so.
Let me ask you this, is that a standard rate that we pay for both departments, Bob?
You only get $15 a hydrant too.
We only have 15.
That's what I'm saying, I'm pretty sure that's a standard rate across the township, not just Tamarack.
Well, then we may want to.
We asked ours to be upgraded, you just asked yours to be upgraded at the same time.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking that if the township is gonna be paying this much a hydrant, that's what we're agreeing to, then we're agreeing to it across the board.
Okay, so that would include then Mason, well then,
No, that does include Mason and Dollar.
Mason's ours.
That's, Mason's theirs.
I know that, but where does the money come from to cover Mason?
Comes out of your precinct,
Precinct Fire Fund?
comes out of the same precinct fire fund, yeah.
Yeah.
He already said 51 hydrants.
Okay, well, at 51 including Mason, 46 in Tamarack City, because
Five in Mason, 46 and.
we were looking at the 46 relative to the
I
water
don't know what our
system.
number is in Dollar Bay, but
Well, then,
that one comes out, the Dollar Bay one would be coming, the payments would be coming out of the, and we would have to, what the thing here is we have to agree to this rate, and then we would have to go back and say that the millages are going, the rate that we're gonna charge the millages is going to be increased by the same amount, or whatever.
Where did the money come from before? General fund, as far as I know, for 100 years. There was nothing set aside, just came out of general fund.
This is how all townships do it.
Right.
This is
So
how
what
they,
are we trying to do with it now? You got the fire fund.
this is how all townships do it now.
out of the fire protection millage?
Yes. It's almost all of them.
We're dealing with both the funding, the originating funding source, the latitude we may or may not enjoy, and a rate. What came up out of the water board meeting, if I may, was a recommendation to approve the rate going from $50 to
Taking out the
$50.
fire fund, we're paying ourselves.
But it's not going back into the fire budget, it's going somewhere else. You're almost like a subcontractor at that point. That's why I'm trying to make that point, that it's not going right back into the same fund it came from. And it does no longer has the earmark on it.
Waiting for.
I'm trying to make that point, that it's
You didn't do
very
anything
important to
like-
make.
So
What
there's
is
two separate issues here, approving a higher rate
Video.
and then determining what funding
You
stream
got
it
it?
would come from
Video
to address the
meeting.
cost.
Oh, I don't have to be in it, thank God.
The funding stream is already there, that's where it comes from.
I think we need clarity.
I always thought it came from the
How
general
long
fund.
Yeah.
have you
It
been
has
doing
never
it?
come from the general fund,
2 hours, that's all?
not since the millages have been in place.
Then, may I ask, is there support for ultimately raising the rate per hydrant to $50 across the system for the fire
Well,
department?
that makes sense,
Yeah.
for an entire year.
So, then why don't we address?
That's all it is.
Yeah.
May I offer this as a suggestion to the board, that we approve the higher rate conditionally and use the time between now and the June meeting to explore the payment methodologies we would have to employ.
Yes, find out where it's coming from now,
Yeah,
so we can.
find out where it's coming from and how we can go about addressing the higher cost per fire hydrant for the fire departments, from 50 to 50. Would somebody be willing to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
The school moves that we raise the rate from 15 to 50 conditionally, and then we explore between now and the June meeting the options for, and methodologies for payment of the increased snow removal hydrant rate. Is there support for the motion? Mr. Jenke supports.
That was,
It's okay, she can.
Ms. Gardner supports, I stand corrected. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
I,
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. task in front of us and to figure out how to do this.
Before we move off of that though, I just have one question, because we got a bill from Julio, I believe, that what we paid, that was for snow removal from the fire hydrants.
Yes, I think it was
So-
very substantial.
Why are we paying for that and we're paying the fire department?
Not in Tamarack, you didn't get a bill.
No,
Dollar
it was
Bay.
for Dollar Bay, but now I'm confused
No,
why.
let's
We
ex-
hired,
let's-
but we eat it ourselves.
Yeah, let's throw that out on the table and find out what for and why.
Okay.
And if we're gonna pay the fire departments $50 per hydrant per year,
That's-
we're not gonna
no,
pay someone
did
else
that.
to do it.
Not Donnie,
Connie did not do that.
no,
Probably didn't know that they were gonna build him out on that.
no.
Him running around and pushing that stuff back for us.
Everybody do.
I think it was substantial.
It was
Well, we'll
substantial.
follow up on that.
That's not gonna make.
And
people happy.
one of the main reasons we noticed was because they'd written a note on the
Well,
bottom saying
Julio has
they
got
billed.
new,
Yeah, who do we bill? The fire department? Do I send bills to the fire department or to you directly?
that's,
There was a note
that
on the
one,
bottom
this
of it.
one's, that's a rat's nest right there.
Yeah, that's a mess.
We need to clear that up too.
I'm pretty sure Donnie didn't do that under the, and it was not, that was not approved by our
How long
fire
were we
department
here?
board
How
either,
long were you
to
here?
do that as
Till
and
it's
get billed
done.
for it.
Do you need a
So
copy
we
of
have
that to
other
bring
issues
to
to
the meeting?
explore and
Probably need to
get
talk to Brad.
clarification. Okay.
Cause we've
That
had.
one, that one
we've
needs to
had
go to
those-
Brad.
We've had snow removed like from our fire hall, we pay them.
Yeah.
Right.
And we would pay too if we asked for it,
Right.
but we were under the impression that cause he wasn't asked, he just
Right.
went and did it.
Right.
And now Julio's new hierarchy is, apparently not understanding here.
Okay.
We'll have clarification for that, ideally by the June meeting as well. Thanks for bringing that up. Okay,
Okay. I can't remember.
is there anything else that we need to discuss from the board's perspective? Hearing none, the final opportunity for public comment has arrived. If anybody would like to comment, offer input to the board before a motion to adjourn, you'll have up to 3 minutes to do so. We would only ask that you identify yourself, and the 3 minutes will commence when you begin talking. Anybody?
Horace Schmidt, regarding the, what just got passed, as I understand it, there's $2,310 that's earmarked for, or was earmarked for maintenance of the hydrants in the, water budget. And then we wanna add on $50 per hydrant for snow removal. So.
The water department
is
already did pay that.
Is that correct, or am I?
No, I don't think you're right.
It was a source of income for the water system.
Yes.
The 2310 that it came in was a rental of the hydrants, correct?
Mhm.
It's a separate issue from snow.
That's where the
removal.
2,300 comes from.
Yeah, that's
Right.
right.
What we're charging to clean them out has nothing to do with that number.
Yeah.
Okay, so the 2310 was being paid by the fire department? Is
Yeah.
that-
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
for rent hydrants from the fire.
And that may not change in this instance.
Okay,
Because-
so whatever was going on in terms of the rental and get the money perhaps coming back to the fire department for.
Is not doable.
Maintenance, something along those lines.
Yeah, you're on the right track, I
Okay.
think, of course, that's not doable in light of the conversation.
So now we have the addition of finding funding for the snow removal of the fire hydrants.
Yep.
Additional funding for that. You don't know what source at this point, you're going to be able to draw that from.
We can't answer the question at this moment, is what you're saying.
Okay. The other thing is, Whooperter Recreation Plan contract, that's for, in case we would want to apply for, DNR, let's see, Natural Resources Trust Fund, funding in the future for any activity, for any, conservation activity in the township, is that correct?
Recreation, yeah.
In part, it's to have a recreation plan in place, and by having a recreation plan in place, it makes us eligible to apply for certain revenues if we meet the planning criteria set for that funding stream.
Okay, so it's not just exclusively for the trust fund possibility?
No, it is to provide guidance for the township over a 5-year period based on the developmental process that comes up with a plan that says these are the priorities for recreation, the township going forward.
Okay, quick question on the agenda, does you cover 10C, which is GES-FEMA project update? I don't recall hearing.
Covering
about
the-
Yeah, that's the Travis Engineering stuff,
Oh, okay.
and they're coming to our June meeting to talk about that.
All right, thank you for that. Then the other thing is the, hopefully if we could get a clerk after regrettably the other one leaving, I wanted to find out, are we going to have problems in terms of election, running the elections here in the township? If
Yep.
there is no clerk?
Yes, we are.
Yes.
So, do we need to go to the county clerk for guidance on that issue?
Yes,
We have,
we have.
Yeah, okay. So you have some type of plan at this point?
we're working on it, but
Okay.
we have to stay within the boundaries established by state law and the
Okay.
rules around
Yeah.
elections.
Okay, well, I just wanted to know because of the, as you've noticed, there's been a lot of hubbub about elections in the past year or so, and we don't want to get caught in the crossfire.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why I asked.
First, anything else, you still have about 30 seconds.
Why I'm-
I'm done.
You got it.
Thank you.
Anybody else that would
Yeah.
like, Mr. Klein?
Earlier you were talking about Oneiko Road, using precinct one's road fund for that. My understanding was part of the, when I was a hell of a nice guy, I said do Spruce Street instead of Maple. 2023 was Maple Street. You piss all the money way up on Oneiko Road, that's another 3 years out then for Maple Street.
Yeah, it could be, that's
No,
why,
yeah, well, it's not gonna happen, come on.
that's why we're not, in a position at this moment to do what the road commission has offered to do at the price they've set.
We're not even close. We got 60,000, they want 160.
Well, yeah, no, I get that.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, no, that, it was projected by 2023, there'd be enough money to do Maple Street, if we don't spend it somewhere else. And I would suggest we don't, because that was the deal.
Maple Street is on the list and the plan. Talked with the road commission about Maple Street yesterday morning.
So why are we talking about Oneiko then?
Because Oneiko is also part of a partnership that we've talked about with Franklin Township to do the entire road. But we didn't have costs until tonight. And they're rather remarkable.
Right, so now you're talking about more cost on skim coins, you're pursuing this is my point.
Well, we're pursuing an opportunity on Oneiko Road, but we also have other revenue that could be dedicated, and the road commission is also working, if I can elaborate for a moment, on a plan with the county to draw down some of their COVID money in partnership with municipalities and townships. So we're looking at stretching our dollars just as far as humanly possible, and nothing is off the table relative to the plan. So your point is well made, Steve, but we continue to prioritize bad roads, and we're looking at where we made commitments in the past. We have money committed out of road or identified out of the COVID money for multiple uses to include possibly roads. And if the county says we'll match you 50-50 on any COVID or road funds that you have for resurfacing or skim coats or upgrades, then dollars will go twice as far as they go.
Doesn't satisfy me, that's fine. Question,
No.
the,
He still has a minute,
oh, yeah, I know, yeah, Mark talked most of my time.
90 seconds.
So anyway, back to this hydrant thing real quick. Under Aaron's suggestion, I guess first of all, my question is, what does Dollar Bay pay per hydrant to rent them?
Should be the same as you.
Should be or is, I don't know.
That's a good
Do they
question.
pay anything?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean.
I don't know what that
that's
amount
what it
is, but yes.
And they hate every minute of it.
It's been 15.
You mean to,
No,
to
what-
clean them,
To rent
to
them,
rent
Oh,
them?
yeah,
do they pay to rent them?
That's not,
Yeah.
you
yeah, we do.
can see better without glasses.
Cause I never understood why the fire department has to rent a fire hydrant.
Well, there's two ways to do this. both of them as the constituents are gonna end up paying.
Oh, wait, no,
Cause
that's
you have to
the
pay the money
township.
from the water
Sorry.
department.
It's on this one.
So either the water department gets it through their raising their rate.
Yep.
Or,
It should have nothing to do with the fire department.
or they're for the fire department, they don't, the water department doesn't need 'em.
3,700.
What does the water department need it for?
3,700 a year.
Why do they need a hydrant?
They own them.
When it comes to what for hydrant.
They have them there because of the fire department,
I don't know, my hydrants.
they don't need a hydrant. Why does the water department need a hydrant? They don't need one. They serve customers.
Bob,
Customer
how
of the
many
hydrant is the
hydrants
fire
do we
department,
66.
Yeah, well,
correct?
In dollar,
Why,
right?
why does the water department need a hydrant?
$56.
To help with the insurance rate,
the
right?
township needs to
Right?
provide fire protection.
That's what that millage is for.
Okay, so what you're thinking is, I know, I'm proud of my time, that's fine.
No, you got another half minute.
Oh, I took all of it, he can,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
I can do
We
as
got
long as
full
we want
minutes,
right now.
But in your thinking, though, so if we take the 20, whatever it is, to pay for us to shovel hydrants, okay, okay, and then we still gotta increase somehow here, another, other fire protection, pay ourselves. Okay, so that comes over, so we have to raise another, we have to increase millage to get it back up so we buy more equipment. Cause we just lost $2,500 out of our millage.
There was a time when they didn't charge at all, so,
Who didn't charge?
there was a time when, fire hydrants was a responsibility of the fire department.
Not the 50 years I was there.
Yeah. Yeah, so then
I always got paid for it.
at least 50 years.
What I'm saying though is it comes from the water department because you need to have hydrants for the fire department, right? Do you disagree with that or not?
Yeah, you need fire hydrants to protect the tax.
Correct, which is a direct relation of the fire insurance, correct?
Sure.
Which is all for the fire department, that is what that millage is for, right? That's why those were set up. Which didn't used to be there. Were you not a part of the fire? Before this, the fire departments were their own entities, which they are not anymore.
Oh, correct. Because they never could be to begin with, but that's fine.
Yeah, they were though.
Oh, yeah, they were, all it would be illegal.
Yeah, it was what it was, but what I'm saying is now they are not, they are part of the township, run by the township. And the only reason that the hydrant is there, in my view, is to serve the fire department. That's what the hydrant does. That is the hydrant's customer. Which in the end serves, the end user is the person that's actually paying the bill, which is the millage, because it's serving the homeowners.
So then we gotta change.
We
how the
can do it a
millage
different
collected.
way.
For the people, precinct 1 is ballpark 80% rural, they're paying for the hydrants.
I mean, we could do it a different way,
I'm just saying,
That's it.
you know,
but the fire department still serves them, and you'd still go to that hydrant somewhere and pick up water, correct?
sometimes.
Sometimes it's a part.
You could go suck it, yeah, but 90% of the time, you're gonna be running to a hydrant. Right?
I'm just arguing your logic on how this might.
I agree with you, I'm not saying it's the only solution. Another solution would be to say, well, it serves, somebody has to pay for what you're asking for right now, the $50 a month. It has to come from somewhere.
A month or a year?
No, it says
This
a
is
year,
a
right?
year.
$50
Yeah,
a year.
it's a year.
So if somebody has to pay for that, times 51 is, I don't know, what's the number? 51 times 50 is
Less than 3,000.
2,500. Yeah, so $2,500, that has to come from somewhere. It would come out of if it can't come out of, if it comes, right now,
What is
my
that?
understanding is it comes from the water departments.
What is that?
That's what pays for maintenance of that item that's on their system. If you were to go and paint them, you'd also
not
get
an
paid
animal.
for painting them, which would also come off of the water system.
Are you
Who
on?
gets paid for paying?
You do.
Why do you gotta stick over there?
You guys have probably hadn't had to paint them yet, because they're brand new, and you didn't
Why?
paint the old ones, did you?
Absolutely.
We get painted for painting them sometimes, don't we?
I know, we paid them, I don't
This is, turns
Well,
it on and off.
I
I'm really into the,
I'm right in the
yeah, if I may, we're kinda getting into the minutia here, and we need to flush out.
I mean, I'm
this
just
you?
saying, there's ways to pay
Is
for
this
this, it
here all
could
the
change.
time, or just-
As a
you
board,
just don't
we
own
could say, no more rental fees, but the money's still gotta come from somewhere. You know, so then it would have to be raise the water rates. That would be the way. How else do you pay
That's
for this?
cute, I like that.
We're raising the millage, so we're gonna make more people pay
Is there anyone else on the
for
side?
hydrants, basically.
Nope.
That's my point.
Somebody's gonna pay.
Somebody's
pay,
gonna pay.
Yeah, I think, let us
The
do
hell
our
is
work,
that?
if I may, just interject, to see how we can come
What's
up with
that?
the cost that we
I have to be
endorsed
really-
That's my husband.
and the methodology for payment.
That's my
And
husband.
by clarifying where the money could come from, knowing what we're doing legally,
What the heck did
and
they
then
do?
covering it for both departments at the same rate, we may find that we're
Is
looping
that
all the
me?
way back to old
No.
approaches,
You
where it
sure?
comes out of
Krista.
township general fund,
Where's she?
or it may be that
And
we're
that's Tracy,
perfectly,
and that's Mark.
suited to use the water system revenues in surplus or excess to cover those costs by injecting that in part of the budget, or any other
Let's see
methodology.
here, that's
But,
votes
there's
around.
been a lot of really lively and very good discussion on the
Huh?
topic tonight.
Mr.
And
Klein.
I think it's gonna
Oh.
require some digging. We are in Tamarack
I
City for
wasn't
the next meeting.
Been
And may I
doing that when I was
suggest,
up
given
here.
that we've gone
Did you?
probably 5 or 6 minutes past
Oh,
the
thank
public comment period, that we can pick up this,
Just a head.
agenda item next month in Tamarack City,
That's my
and
husband.
hopefully with.
Well, maybe we'll know more too.
And that's just it, we'll know.
I'm
more
just
a little bit.
spitting out what my understanding is of it, and maybe I'm not getting it right, but this is how I've understood it to work for the last 12 years, so
Oh,
it could be different.
And let's see if we're on track.
where did I lose him?
You know, Our assumptions are accurate.
He was there, now where is he?
Then we know what we're dealing with, and we may or may not be able to do what we proposed in the methodology identified.
Your voice is
Or
going on the video.
We're not on the right track, or we're only partly there. But,
My methodology
yeah.
makes me easier
I
to
don't know.
swallow the rental permit. It makes it easier for me to swallow it. Cause if it's not going that way, then that rental payment makes me even madder, so.
He's talking.
Cause if we're paying rental and we're not getting anything for the payment, then I'm, like the maintenance of it, that makes me mad about the rental payment. I expect to be getting something for the money that I'm spending on rental. That's what I expect to get.
Then let's find out.
If I'm gonna spend $200
There he
a
is.
hydrant, I better
Hand
be
goes
getting
up
some
with that.
services for that.
Aaron, anything else?
No.
Steve, anything else?
No.
Was the rental for, Tamarack City 2310,
Well, I
Is
can't
that
see anybody I
the
don't know.
amount paid?
Yes, that's what it used to be.
2310 by 55, or 51? So we
46.
just-
46.
oh, 46.
We weren't including.
So there's
we
something
backed
wrong
out
here
the-
too then.
The
Is
Calumet
that
location
yours or is
hydrants
that
were
You have
backed
five
out.
other
Something to
hydrants
play
that aren't in
playing
that.
with.
Number,
Yeah,
something's wrong there.
well, it-
No, we're not, I don't get what, we're not paying, far as I know, we're not paying higher rental for the ones in Mason,
No.
but we can use them.
They're not on
So
the
I'm
water
just
system.
questioning who, yeah,
So now we're getting charged for that, I suppose.
no, no,
Now,
no.
let's sort all this out, if I may.
Oh,
well, the rates aren't the same.
They're not the
Just
same.
Tamarack City pays less per hydrant.
We'll chart this out to the
Where's the
best
rest
of our
of the
ability, so
bathroom?
we're dealing with what we believe or know to be fact. And may I suggest that we pick this up
Find out where it's coming from and everything else.
at our next meeting?
My brain.
Which we suggested.
We're paying rental rates and we're not getting anything for it, then why are we paying rental rates?
Steve, are you through?
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to offer? Anybody else? Aaron? Additional comments? Well, I think we've had a lively discussion on this. We need to follow up on it and get some hard and factual information out to everybody so we know what we're dealing with. Anybody else under public comment that would like to offer input, we'll have up to 3 minutes. And if we interrupt a little more, if I interrupt a little more, anybody?
Everybody says anything, I'll clunk them.
Hearing none?
Me too, Bob.
Thank you
Put that in the
everyone for
minutes.
attending. Board, anything else from your
Motion
perspective?
to
I have a
adjourn.
discussion, Mr. Janky moves that we
Supported.
adjourn. Is there support?
Yes.
We have a motion and support to adjourn. All in favor of the motion to adjourn,
Aye.
please
Good
indicate by
night.
saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We stand adjourned. Thank
Do we
you,
have a
everyone.
cake for Tracy or
I
anything?
think